Recently, and finally, I began to examine how my being on the autism spectrum affects me. Straight up, massively underestimated it my whole life. And since starting to figure this thing out, I feel like I've had more growth in the past several months than I have in most years of my life. And it's helped me move on from so much of the negative baggage that I carried around. My name is Keegan, and I'm coming out as autistic. So in true autistic fashion, I wrote a list. Some of these are positives, some are tough on me, and some are tough on other people.
Number 1, restricted interests.
So I bet if you were to conduct a poll on everyone that I've interacted with over the last 10 years, I bet you that poll would conclude that about 90% of the time I'm talking about politics, baseball, Lord of the Rings, cooking, and did I mention politics? Because when I'm interested in something, I go full on. I want to read everything about it. I want to know every little detail. I hyper-focus on it, and it eventually becomes part of my core. Because I'm a bit obsessive. But yeah, I only like a few things, and that leads to...
Number 2, social awkwardness.
Autistic people are stereotyped to be reserved and shy, maybe even antisocial. Yeah, not me, I'm super extroverted. But I still have some social weirdness. I mean, if you've met me. Sarcasm that's hard to read, general tone problems, playing with weird voices, bizarre ways of describing things, weird language play, being intense seemingly out of nowhere, not knowing what's appropriate when, talking about income inequality statistics while at a party taking shots, apparently not appropriate. I just feel lost in so many social situations because I just don't relate to people, and I'm totally clueless about normal people things like pop culture. It's one of those aspects of autism that really makes me feel like an alien.
Number 3, connecting with others.
So sure, it's not a positive that I don't vibe with a ton of people. However, I'm fortunate in my life to have had some seriously deep connections. One of the most fulfilling feelings I've ever had is when somebody tells me that the dynamic that we have is not only deep, but that they feel like there's something rare about it. It's as if I either connect with someone really well or not at all. This is one of those many double-edged sword aspects of autism, but it's one that I'll happily take the positive, deeper connections over relating to more people.
Number 4, repetitive thinking and thought loops.
This is my biggest struggle. Sometimes a thought or a memory just grabs me and it cycles in my head. And this is why I think basically everyone that I've interacted with has heard me repeat how many Americans don't have health care. Something I cringe at now. And yeah, I'm preachy. Thankfully less so now. But it's because the reality of the injustice just loops and loops and loops in my brain. I mean, for every time I repeated the statistic, it was going on 10 times more in my head. And I project the details and the implications and perhaps even add in my own personal experience. And it's too hard not to express how upsetting it is. It's as if it becomes overwhelming and it just has to come out. I have this super detailed memory where I can access emotions and experience them like I first felt them. And this can absolutely bring me joy. But you could probably see how this could combine with the thought loops and go negative. And if I have a meltdown where I'm overloaded with emotions and stress, it's likely because I got stuck in one of these negative thought loops. And it's not easy to live with. And I don't just mean it's not easy for me to live with.
Number 5, preciseness.
I would say that this is my OCD side. This makes me organized, both mentally and spatially, which is super convenient. This makes details pop out. It's probably why I love baseball so much. Because all the precise numbers. This is why I overly correct people. And I get people interpreting it as me being an arrogant know-it-all. Mostly because throughout most of my life, I've been an arrogant know-it-all. But really, my being overly corrective is because I can't not focus on the details, however trivial. And it's like I can't move on in the conversation unless that has been addressed. And I imagine that it combines with my detailed memory to be rather annoying.
Number 6, difficulty adjusting in the moment.
I plan out basically everything. I naturally project options and the steps of a plan in detail, and I get grumpy if I can't execute it. If, for example, I'm going to hang out with friends and a friend is late and it delays my plans, I'm rarely pleasant. I don't think being autistic is an excuse to be a jerk. And this is something I'm really trying to work on. In general, if I'm interrupted, I just don't adapt well. I'm terrible at spontaneousness. But seriously, I don't like being interrupted. My autistic superpower. We come to it at last. It's like I didn't get the cultural assumptions software update when I was growing up. When people talk about the benefits of travel, one of the major things is learning about another culture and therefore gaining more perspective on one's own culture, being able to see some of the flaws, seeing how arbitrary some aspects are, but also seeing some of the positive qualities that are unique. I feel like that's kind of how I was born. And it's this point of view that makes me want to do this political commentary channel. My name is Keegan Tatum. I'm coming out as autistic, and this is Alien Perspective. Thanks for watching.